So I don't know if you know, we live in a time of universal deceit, right? I think Orwell said that. I'm going to butcher it, but in a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. That's close, maybe. And so we have some truth tellers, right? Snowden, Assange, Manning. I wish Assange would curate the WikiLeaks instead of just dumping them. I wish he would go through them and figure out what's important and what's not. He doesn't do that. Snowden did that. Anyway, guess what they're doing, and guess what they did last. This is from last year in Berlin. They had statues to them in Berlin. Isn't that nice? It's the artist behind the work is an Italian sculptor named Davide Dormino, or Domino. And he said he wanted to represent three contemporary heroes who have lost their freedom for the truth. He says that they act as a reminder of how important it is to know the truth and have the courage to know truth. And it's entitled Anything to Say. The sculptor encourages supporters to stand up for freedom of speech and information. Wow. So what do we do to truth tellers who expose war crimes of our government? Well, Chelsea Manning got thrown in jail and tortured. They took all his clothes away from him, all of his bedding, and then they kept waking him up every hour because that drives you crazy. And imagine if you're the guy who has to go wake him up every hour. Like, that's your job. You have to go torture someone. I bet you they like it. I bet you they like it. You don't work in a jail unless you get a kick out of that shit, right? You don't. Yeah. So keep that in mind. So that was great.
Can I tell you what the empty chair has a double meaning?
What is that?
It can be comfortable, but it also can be a pedestal to rise higher, to get a better view, to learn more. They all chose to get up on the chairs of courage. They made their move in spite of becoming visible, thus threatened and judged. So that's how they treat whistleblowers in Germany. In Berlin, they put up a statue of him in center of Berlin. Look at that, nice, in town square. Isn't that nice in Berlin? I don't know if you remember, that's where Nazis come from. They came from Germany. Remember? So that's how they treat that's how they give a statue to them, truth tellers who expose government crimes now in Germany. Here's how we treat them in America. Here's John Kerry, Secretary of State. Here's what he had to say.
The bottom line is, this is a man who has betrayed his country, who is sitting in Russia, an authoritarian country, where he has taken refuge. He should man up and come back to the United States. If he has a complaint about what's the matter with American surveillance, come back here and stand in our system of justice and make his case.
Hey, John Kerry, I got something for you. You want Edward Snowden to man up? You mean you want him to come back and face the same criminal court system that he just exposed the government for being corrupt? Really? He just exposed war crimes, and you want to come back and have him have those people put him on trial? That's what you want to do? And by the way, you know how you told him to man up? Why don't you man up, John Kerry, and tell your president to start prosecuting war criminals? Oh, you won't prosecute those war criminals, but you'll prosecute others, the kind who don't have power or connections. You mean those people? You mean the criminals who expose your crimes? Those are the ones that you're going to prosecute, but you're not going to man up and prosecute Dick Cheney or Condoleezza Rice or Don Rumsfeld or George Bush or anybody else who carried out torture in America, in America's name. We have a torture facility right now. Right now, off the Florida coast. It's called Guantanamo Bay. They just had that guy's rectum just got prolapsed because they jammed a broom handle up it so many times. That's your country. Why don't you man up and prosecute some of those guys, John Kerry? Because you won't. Because somehow you had the guts to stand up to your country in Vietnam, but now you're a complete fucking sellout. Complete. John Kerry's sellout is complete. His hypocrisy is total.
And so is Edward Snowden supposed to return to our country so he can face his charges?
So he can face his charges.
So he can be in prison just like they've done to Chelsea
Chelsea
Manning.
Look what you did to Chelsea Manning, you son of a bitch. You tortured him. Look what you did. You took his rights away and you tortured him. A guy who exposed war crimes. Did any of those war crimes he exposed, did you go after any of those people who committed them? Why don't you man up and go after those guys, John Kerry? Because you won't, because somehow you turn into a frickin' coward. You're an enemy of your own people. You're pushed for more war, and that's all you know how to do. John Kerry gave a speech to tried to get Code Pink people to support more war. That's who John Kerry is. John Kerry, Edward Snowden is a hero. And you know what you are? A tool inside of a corrupt, evil machine. That's what you are, John Kerry. Why don't you man up and do something tough, stick your neck out, and stand up against war? But you won't. But you'll stand up against the people who expose war crimes inside of our own government. And you consider yourself on the left?